Combat sports are absolutely crazy. There's a ton of grit, a ton of hard work. There's a ton of different aspects from the strength characteristics that we need to train, and that's where you guys come into play. We're gonna give you 8 awesome exercises that you can use to improve your fight-based training, and we're gonna start right now. Fight-based training has to be intense. We've got to be able to use multiple different things at our disposal. We got to look at different tools that we can use to improve our performance. And we've got to think about what exercises will transfer best to fighting. And this is where this first exercise comes into play. I want to focus on how can I improve my grip. So if I'm a wrestler, or I'm a jiu-jitsu artist, or I'm a judo player, or let's just say even a boxer, I need to have strong shoulders, I need to have strong upper back, and I need to have really, really good endurance, along with really strong abs. So what we're gonna start off with is a 2-inch rope climb with some weight. So we're here, boom, 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 boom. Then we're gonna walk that down. We're gonna drop that, okay? I'm gonna move this out of my way. Hopefully I have a strength coach like myself to get that out of the way if you're an athlete. And then I'm gonna get right back into it. So what we just did was train our ab strength, train our lat strength, train our biceps, shoulders, okay? If we're fighting and we wanna be in the fold, we wanna be compressed, just like we are when we catch it clean or when we do a plyometric exercise, that's where we're gonna be when we're doing that rope climb with the weight around our feet. The big aspect here, you can tell I'm out of breath. I'm just tapping into that glycolytic system. I'm also getting some big time power output. I need to make sure that my conditioning has a good base. But what I wanna do is every time I would do this, let's say I do 3 minutes of rope climb. The first climb I'm gonna do with weight. I'm gonna drop the weight and I'm gonna try and get 3 to 5 more climbs during that time slot. So we're looking at, if I'm in wrestling, if I'm a freestyle wrestler, we got a 3-minute clock, that's our period. If I'm a fighter or a boxer, 3 minutes. If I'm in MMA, I want a 5-minute clock. So we can train that strength characteristic, in this case, trunk control, grip, ab strength over that time frame, and then keep track of that and try to increase the number of reps that you can get during that specific time period. And then as you progress, you're gonna notice you're a better fighter. Every Tuesday in our YouTube live, we're giving away 2 free t-shirts. All you have to do is 1, comment down below. 2, make sure all channel notifications are active. And then 3, show up to that YouTube live to find out if you won this sweet swole shirt. Now, let's keep training fighters. We know based off of research that impulse is going to give us that knockout power. We also know that punches come from the ground. Just like sprinting, ground reaction forces, we need to manipulate ground reaction forces. That means change level, get the hip moving, get the trunk moving, okay? If we can get that hip coordination with our trunk, that leads to a massive amount of power into our hands. Then our hands connect and it's over. So what can we do to train that rotational strength with our hips? That's where the next exercise comes into play. I'm gonna give you 2 variations here. And I like to use a decline bench on this because when we're holding this isometric position, okay, we're gonna be holding a position here, we're actually gonna be forcing a little bit more trunk control into our hips. A lot of people say like, decline benches are worthless. Or they might even say, well, you don't want to train your abs this way because the hips being involved. No, you want to train your abs in specific manners where your hips are involved so that they're coordinating more effectively. So there's a couple things that we can do. 1, we can just simply do a little bit of a drop rotation into a punch, okay? And I know dumbbell punching isn't the greatest thing for fighting. Okay, I know that, but this exercise has tremendous carryover because of the rotational aspects. So we're here, boom, boom. Okay, here, boom, boom. Here, boom, boom. Okay, we can do both sides. Let's say we do 5 sets of 3. Here, boom, boom. I'm so not coordinated to my left side. Boom, boom. There, one more. Boom, boom. Okay, that's really simple, right? You're gonna feel that in your abs quite a bit because you're absorbing and going. Think about oftentimes in fighting and boxing, in MMA, you'll take a punch or you'll dip here and you flex, you get into this little bit of a fold here, and then you come out with that counter. That's what this is gonna help with. Again, I'm not training you with the technique. You've gotta have a technical coach that's gonna help you learn all those aspects. I'm training you with specific strength exercises, just like we use inside of our app Peak Strength. You're gonna get specific training to your sport, boxing, fighting, MMA, whatever it is, okay? Now, I'm gonna give you this sweet variation where we're gonna have this hooked up with a Powerlastic band. This is available at garagestrength.com. I love the loops, especially for fighters, because you can hold this in high guard position. Think about Winky Wright, my favorite. I'm gonna say Winky Wright's name 10 times in this video. We should have a Winky Wright tracker. Okay, so we're gonna rotate, punch. We wanna hold that defensive position. Punch. And the whole time, I'm flexed here. Now, this is where we're gonna use a garage strength training method. So we just did some strength movements there. Okay, we're focusing on the abs, focusing on the hips. I'm gonna show you, we walk over here, a reflexive movement, okay? And think about the garage strength training method. The garage strength contrast method is using an absolute strength exercise with a reflexive pattern. So now, we're here, and this is what's gonna give us that big time knockout power. We just trained the trunk, just trained the hips. Now we're gonna get here, boom, boom. Okay, try and use a little bit lighter of a med ball. I think this one's like 15. I would use like a 7 to a 10. So I'm here, boom, boom. Be a little bit better with your target too. I would also say that, but the whole focus is change direction, go, okay? Boom, boom. Okay, so you hit the ab on the decline. Let's say you do 5 sets of 3 if you're doing the quick drop. Let's say you do 5 sets of 5 to 7 if you're using the band variation. You walk over here 20 to 30 seconds. You can do 5 sets of 4 on each side, okay? When we're doing the reflexive jump, when we're doing that plant, go. Now, one quick thing. If we're looking at soccer, football, basketball, the best setups we see are gonna be a rapid change of direction. Most goals are scored that way. Most touchdowns are run that way. That's what we see in most athletic ventures, a quick change of direction. It's no different in fighting. If you can master a quick change of direction and apply a massive amount of force in a short period of time, impulse, that's gonna help set up that knockout power. So that's what we're doing here. Training that defense work, coming over here, training that offensive work, and that's gonna help you become a beast. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a quick one here. Nakano 2014, a whole research paper done on what is going to optimize knockout power, okay? And it comes down to impulse, which is why we have Impulse Day inside of our app, Peak Strength. Now, the whole purpose of the study was everybody who has the highest amount of knockout power, as far as a boxer, and the people that they studied, these were all professional level fighters. They could produce the highest amount of force in the shortest period of time. So how can we do that in the gym? That's where we come into training unilaterally. We know that a lot of power comes from the hips, comes from the trunk. The garage strength contrast method comes down to training an absolute strength movement and pairing it with a reflexive exercise. So this is where we're gonna come into play to train to get that knockout power. We're gonna do an offset single leg squat. So this is simple. Fighters, you guys hate lifting weights traditionally. I understand it, but you should be able to use a 40 or a 50-pound dumbbell when we're doing a single leg offset squat. This is going to help your ab strength. It's going to help the hip strength. Please do this for me. I know you hate lifting weights, but do it anyway. Okay, so we're gonna be in this offset position. Here, boom. And I wanna tap my knee. Let's do 5 on each leg. I've already lost count. Okay, I'm gonna get here. I'm gonna go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't wanna see this. A lot of fighters say, oh, well, I don't like to lift weights. And then you put a 40 in their hand and they're doing this. Falling all over the place. They can't hold that trunk control. So we hit that. Let's rest about 20 to 30 seconds. This is the garage strength contrast method, okay? And we like to focus on unilateral strength training. We like to focus on reflexive and impulse training inside of our app, Peak Strength. When we're using unilateral based training, we're zeroing in on the issues that athletes have. So if we're looking at a boxer and we know that the fighter struggles with that dynamic trunk control, we know the MMA fighter might struggle with change of direction. They might struggle with some type of fast power output. That's why we use unilateral based training inside of our app, Peak Strength. Now, I'm gonna show you the reflexive movement here. We're gonna drape this Powerlastic right over that single leg roller. We're gonna go right behind here. Ideally, you would have a training partner holding that band right there, okay? We're gonna put this down. I'm gonna hold high guard. Think about Winky Wright. And I'm gonna get a quick drop, punch, 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 okay? That's a reflexive movement. We're training in multiple different directions. Dropping, hitting. Very similar to what you're gonna be doing inside the cage or what you're gonna be doing inside the ring. Now we're gonna train the other leg here. Remember, we wanna drop, 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 fast punch. Hold high guard, just like Winky Wright. Here, okay? So if we can train an absolute strength movement with that offset position. Then we can rest a little bit. We're gonna feel that in our abs, we're gonna feel it in our quads and in our hips. And here's where we wanna be. And think about if we're holding high guard and we move, we take a body shot or something, then we can come out with that big long step jab. That's what we wanna work on. But we can train these technical positions also inside the gym so you have more power output. So head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store, and you can download Peak Strength. And inside of Peak Strength, you can select combat-based training. That's gonna give you a sport-specific program to help you develop that impulse so that you can knock somebody out. So fighters are exchanging massive haymakers. I'm visualizing the Diego Sanchez, I wanna say he might have been fighting Nate Diaz. For the last 30 seconds, they're just dropping major bombs, the crowd's erupting. But how can we train that? We need to make sure that we've got that cardiac respiratory aspect covered, okay? And one of the best things that I think we can do is, first you can start off with once or twice a week, do long, slow distance. Go for a 5, 6, 7 mile run. That's perfectly fine. That's old school fight-based training, and I do believe it has its place, 100%. But we need to focus on sustained power. So can we hold power output for longer than 10 seconds? Can we hold it for 25 or 30 or 60 potential seconds? Yes, there's gonna be some flurries where there's a break in that flurry, but for the most part, we need to be able to do something with very high output consistently, and that's where this specific work is gonna come into play. So we're doing this specific strength work and we're doing some specific cardiac work. Now, what I like to do, we're gonna get on the bike and we're gonna go 20 seconds at 90 RPMs. A lot of fighters don't do any resistance training, so they can't even get to 90 RPMs and then hold it for 20 seconds. But this will produce tremendous output in your fighting, okay? So it's gonna look like this. We're gonna get to 90 RPMs and hold that for 20 seconds. Trying to wait for this to trigger. It's actually like 108. So we go 20 RPMs, or 20 seconds, 90 RPMs, come off the bike, get here, we got our Powerlastic. Okay, here, boom, 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 boom. Here, boom, boom, boom. Okay, Greco throws. Look more athletic than I just did. 20 seconds, then we're gonna rest. 30, I got my timer. We're gonna rest 30 seconds, get back on the bike, and do that. Keep track on the interval day. How many times can you get through this in 5 to 10 minutes? And over your training, this will improve. Now, don't do this the day before a really important technical day, because this is gonna make you really fatigued. Do this workout the day before you would have off from your fight camp, okay? So it is extremely grueling. Fight training's gotta be ferocious. One thing, if you don't have access to a bike, you do hill sprints for 20 seconds as hard as possible. You do a 100-meter sprint and then do some of that band work. But find something where you can do 15 to 20 seconds very, very hard to skyrocket that heart rate and then drop it back down while you're doing that technical work. Take that rest period, and it's gonna help improve your recovery during your actual fight. So you'll have that situational strength characteristic developed, and even the recovery inside of your fight is going to be optimized. Face it, fight training is intense, and we've got to do all these different aspects. We've got to train that strength in our legs. We also have to train that trunk control. That's going to help improve our impulse, which will lead to better knockouts. But at the same time, we also have to do that sustained power. So head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store, and you can download Peak Strength, where you can pick up a combat-specific program that's going to help you optimize all of your time and training inside of the gym. Because remember, freaks, if you guys want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.